Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and this thing called Grok, not to be confused with Grok AI on X, but this is a different Grok with a Q. They make AI chips. They're being added to the Link2 platform today, is my understanding. Watch this. This is I guess it's the CEO on CNN talking about what they do.
With me now to explain how that is possible. Before I ask you that, Grok, why Grok?
Thank you, Becky. It's Grok, and we spell it with a Q,
right.
And it's because it comes from a science fiction novel, and it means to understand something deeply and with empathy.
Of course it does. Tell us about your chip and what makes Grok chip LPU different from other AI chips and accelerators. I have to tell our viewers that NVIDIA CEO was here, of course, this week at the beginning of the week. So we've had all the greatest minds in here. What's your story?
Well, asking me how the chip works before I show you what it does is a bit like asking how a magic trick works before showing you the magic trick. You're going to get bored, but I'll give it a shot.
Cool.
So most chips, they don't have enough memory inside of them. Sort of like if you were building cars and you use a giant factory and you need about 1 million square feet of assembly line space. Well, if you don't have a building that's large enough to fit that, then you need to set up part of the assembly line, tear it down over and over again.
Right.
And that's slow and it takes a lot of time. And that's what happens with the GPU. You have to read from that memory. So thousands of times for every word that comes out. It's as if you're setting up the assembly line over and over.
Right, you talk about the wow moment people have when they first experience the speed of your tech. You are breaking performance records almost every week. How fast is your processing today, and why is speed so crucial? To coin a phrase, so what, why do I care about the speed?
The reason you care about the speed is it's about engagement. Imagine if I spoke that slowly, you'd just drift off, you'd go away.
Most certainly.
So the statistic is, if you improve the speed by 100 milliseconds on a website on desktop, you will get about an 8% increase in user engagement. On mobile, it's 34%. People have no patience on mobile. And we now set a speed record where we can do what's called 500 tokens per second. That would be a novel in about, somewhere around 100 seconds.
I'm going to get to this.
A novel. So anyway, Grok's going to be on the Link2 platform, which is my sponsor. There's Grok right there. They're going to be, if they haven't added it already, it's today. Also, there's Ripple on the private equity on the platform too. And a little update on Ripple that I haven't shown in a while. They've now got 900 plus employees, 15 offices, 80 plus countries, and they're both on Link2, my sponsor. You can get private equity in these companies. Now, folks, I had to show you this. I think one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Even if you love Bitcoin, this guy has lost his marbles, in my opinion. He just sounds like a nut, and this isn't the first time he sounded like a nut. I had to play this part for you anyway.
Did. Now God comes down from heaven above, and God says, okay, I've decided to solve your problem. I'm going to run a bank in heaven. I'm going to issue 21 million God coins, and they're infinitely dividable. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this for you for just about nothing. And you can telepathically move the coins between each other to pay off your debts. And I'm going to make sure that no bank, no government, no counterparty, no country, no criminal takes your money away from you. And I promise never to inflate it. I'm just going to, so there's your money, there's your bank. It's a bank in heaven, right? And a person can hold a gun to your head, but you've got the money in your head, and the angels will, protect you. They might.
Anyway, the whole analogy is just one flew over the cuckoo's nest, crazy and disturbing. Okay, he's wanting to show how Bitcoin can get to $500,000, which if it's allowed to get there, and I do mean allowed by the government, then I think it could.
You should really look at the pattern of Bitcoin after a halving. So here's a little Bitcoin price analysis for you guys. So there's been a couple of halving cycles that have happened. And I asked him to go back and look at the price performance 1 month after a halving, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and 18 months after a halving. And what you notice is that there are these moments initially where essentially when you go through a Bitcoin halving, people are sort of reassessing what's happening and they're trying to figure it out. That's sort of what I would say happens in the first month, and roughly what also happens in the first 3 months. But then within 6 months to a year and 18 months of these things, there are these crazy price appreciation cycles that happen. So that's what this page shows, which is, 18 months after the first halving, the Bitcoin price returned 45x. After the second halving, it returned almost 28x. And after this third halving, it returned almost an 8x, which is really incredible returns in such a short period of time. If you go to the next page. And so if you graph that, this is what it starts to show, which is what is this price performance after each of these halving cycles. Now, why is that interesting? Well, it's interesting because on top of this halving, which theoretically, if history is a guide, we should see some price appreciation. Obviously, the other thing that's happened is we've commercialized Bitcoin. And we talked about this sort of as my big prediction for 2024, which is these ETFs are really going to allow Bitcoin to cross the chasm and have its sort of central key moment, right? And so if you apply the averages, and again, these are just averages, they're by no means predictions. Okay, so I just want to qualify that.
Yeah,
this
is not financial advice.
It's not financial advice. These are just guesses. Data. We took these and we applied it to the price of Bitcoin. And if you go to the next page, you start to see what could happen if you just take the average of the last few cycles. So because the first cycle was so extreme, and you start to
so you're just doing cycle 2 and 3 here, to be clear.
Just the averages of cycle 2 and 3, and what you start to see is some really meaningful appreciation. And when I talked to Wences about this, how he explained it, which makes a lot of sense to me, is there are a lot of countries that will never look at Bitcoin credibly, even if they support it. The US may be one of those, but there's an increasing body of countries that will become dual currency. And
okay, I think you get the picture. You get the point. I'll play this one. This is Paul Barron. I can't remember if I played this clip before, but it's okay. You'll enjoy it.
If this is going to be a bull run for XRP or for Ripple, tokenized assets are going to be the vehicle that this is going to, I think, transact.
Well, tokenized assets, a potential ETF, a stable coin, it's a lot of things.
And if you follow where the money is going, you probably would agree. Here's a clip to talk about that.
BNY Mellon is the world's largest custodial bank. They're the bank that your banks bank with. And they did a study of institutional asset managers to get their opinions on what they think about this space. And that report found that 97% of asset managers believe that tokenization will revolutionize the asset management industry. The ones with more than $1 trillion, basically the largest asset managers, 100% of them are interested in this space. So I don't know about you, but I've always been told, follow the money. And this is where the money is going.
And if you do follow the money and you also follow the major moves of key executives, because that usually is another indicator. Here's one right here. BNY Mellon's head of digital asset product departs for, guess what, Ripple. So do you guys see this? I mean, hopefully you're watching this right now and you're thinking, this is the potential bellwether component of the market that is going to start to really perk its head up there in terms of real world assets and tokenized securities all starting to become part of this.
I think Paul Barron is starting to get it. Now, this is something I think it's important for you to get, or at least begin to understand the possibility, the things that could happen here. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying don't ever think in crypto that something can't happen. Brad Garlinghouse keeps on teasing that Tether's being looked at by the U.S. government is going after it. Don't be one of these people that thinks, oh, well, the government can't touch that. It's out of the U.S. Ask CZ Binance about that, okay? So the first guy in this clip is this guy right here. He's Brian Nelson, Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence at the U.S. Treasury. The second clip is the CEO of Tether, and the third clip is Ripple's CEO, Brad Garlinghouse. When you put it all together, it might open your eyes.
We've also have observed the increased use of stablecoins, notably Tether's USDT, by sanctioned persons, scammers, and terrorist groups. And a key theme across all of that is that bad actors are seeking out those jurisdictions and those products where they're weak or insufficient AML, CFT, or sanctions compliance programs. And some virtual asset service providers are sort of outright failing to meet their compliance obligations. I think the second thing that we've been really focused on is the risks around stablecoins, and particularly as we have seen those become more attractive to terrorists and other bad actors. Is there a way to work with Congress to get an authority so that those stable coins that are U.S. backed are clearly subject to OFAC sanctions authorities? And then, I think overall, it's the work to ensure that virtual asset service providers and other entities that operate in the ecosystem know clearly that based on the activity that they are engaged in, they are required to register with FinCEN as a money services business, or really a financial institution that's subject to all of the AML, CFT obligations that FinCEN administers. Right now, what we often see is virtual asset service providers, big and small, will say, "Well, that's not us. Like we're not subject to your regulatory remit." So making clear that no, you don't get to define whether you are or not based on the product that you are developing or you have promulgated, but really it's based on the activity that you're engaged in, and statutory definition of financial institution may be the way to get at that challenge.
With Tether, we are, as you surely you know, and so we are not big in DeFi. We do really care about being the stablecoin for the last mile. So we focus on the adoption in the real world. So payments, remittances. We don't care about the usage of USDT in Europe and the US. We don't think Europe and US.
Let me translate. He doesn't care about the regulations in the US and Europe.
Good market for us, and in general for stablecoins. That is our own opinion.
FTX and Binance were the two most important, most influential, and probably SBF and CZ were the two most important players in crypto. Now you've got one definitively in jail, one, I guess, potentially headed to jail. And, I bring this up in context of black swans is like, it's hard to know. But on the positive, think about the freaking resilience of this industry and market. That 2 years ago, somebody who I thought I knew a lot about what's going on in crypto, I would have said these are the two most important companies. The CEOs of the two most important companies now either are in jail or I think headed there. Yeah. Unfortunately, in some ways, the CZ stuff I'm less close to, and so I don't know as many details. But look, the resilience of the market, that should give us immense optimism. Yes. About what's coming. Do I think there's going to be another black swan? Of course, 100%. I just don't know exactly what it is. The only one that's going to be an interesting one to watch, and I don't even know how he calls a black swan, because I feel like black swan by definition can't really be, it's like predicted. Oh, didn't see that happening. Yeah. The U.S. government is going after Tether. That is clear to me.
We've also...
All right, so remember this guy, Brian Nelson, Undersecretary. Look at this. Undersecretary Brian Nelson, this is a tweet he did on May 16th. Treasury published 2024 National Strategy for Combating Terrorists and Other Illicit Finance. He put out 3 documents when you click on this. Here's 2 of them. When you do a search, this is the 2024 National Terrorist Financing Risk Assessment. When you search Tether, watch what happens. Additionally, stablecoins may be preferred by VASP, used by terrorists to exchange virtual assets for fiat currency. Reporting and private sector analysis indicate that ISIS and other terrorist groups have moved towards using stablecoins, including Tether, to move or store funds. The other document that they posted up, one of the 3, 2024 National Proliferation Financing Risk Assessment. Search for Tether, here's what comes up. The individual was separately charged with a conspiracy involving various North Korean IT workers to launder the proceeds of illegal IT development work. These IT workers use fake personas to get jobs, including jobs at U.S. blockchain development companies. The workers asked to be paid in virtual assets such as stablecoins like USD Tether and USD Coin, which are pegged to the US dollar. After receiving payment, the workers funneled their earnings back to North Korea through FTB representative. Folks, the Treasury doesn't keep bringing up Tether for no reason. Strap in, folks. Is Tether the coming black swan in crypto? Nothing's off limits. Now, I'm going to finish up with this, folks. I told you a few weeks ago this was coming. As many of you know, the XRP community was rug pulled by the Phoenix Fire token a couple of years back. And this right here is this guy apparently, I think his thing is he used to be a criminal or something, and now he runs a podcast YouTube channel called Criminal Thoughts. And he interviewed this guy who just wrote a book called Crypto Confidential, an insider's account from the front lines of fraud. And the first question he asks him is about the Phoenix Fire token. And I wanted to play you I'm going to play a little bit of it, and I'll play the rest in the group and tell you some stuff I know about the Phoenix Fire token that I've been told, things that are going on behind the scenes.
This team was... So what happened with the Phoenix token?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting case because this team wasn't anonymous. This team was very much in the spotlight. A lot of them were doxxed, which means they had revealed their identities. They also raised a lot of money. Some reports, some articles put that figure upwards of $600 million.
Oh wow!
So obviously that is a lot of capital to be raising. What happened was they issued a token. This token was incredibly hyped, incredibly shilled by a lot of very, very prominent influencers. They issued this
prominent influencers. I wonder how out of the 600 million, I wonder how much the prominent influencers made. And were any of these influencers in the XRP community? Well, I'll talk about that a little bit in DAIXRP.com. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that away we go.